Oh, okay. We're doing this today.
I've been feeling so down, yeah. Can you tell me why? Can you tell me why I'm down, yeah? No friends of mine around, yeah. Now I'm thinking
Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is itu.skosana and I'm currently living in South Korea. I'm working as an English teacher. And today's video is about teaching English in South Korea. So I'm just going to talk about the documents that you will need as a South African citizen to come and teach English in South Korea. So before we start, if you hear anything, that's my cup of coffee brewing. I'm actually about to make a cup of coffee, so the kettle is on the stove. Before we start, I just want to talk about something that I read online regarding, I've got a blanket as well. I just want to talk about something I read online. It was on one of the Facebook foreigners group, South Africans in South Korea. I think that's the name of the group. So on the group, it was mentioned that South Africa has actually been taken off. How am I teaching English in South Korea? South Africa has actually been taken off the list of the countries that can teach English in South Korea. I think there were 7 countries. At the top of my head, I think it was USA, America, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, I don't remember what's the 6th one, and South Africa, but now there's only 6. So there are some job listings that have taken off South Africa as a country that can come and teach English in South Korea. Actually, somebody who watches my channel DM'd me on Instagram and asked like if they can still apply for a job. So I think it's a thing that's happening. I'm not sure why, but I do think it's because South Africans, our native language is not necessarily English, although we do speak it like more than our native languages actually. And because of that, I think some job opportunities or some schools figured that we don't speak English well. I really don't know. But what I do know is that even Asian people who grew up in America, it's very hard for them to find a teaching job in Asia, in South Korea, because they are not considered the standard English or the standard native English speaker. So it's tricky. It's very tricky. So yeah, I think, I don't know why, but it's happening. So just be careful. If you are looking for a teaching job in South Korea, just do a bit more research. Try to go to Dave's ESL Cafe to look for a job there. And if you don't find a school that doesn't, I don't know how many schools though, so I really don't know, but I know it's a thing. That's all. So today I'm just gonna go through the documents that you need in order to apply. I will first list them all and then maybe briefly talk about each document in detail. So I think altogether I'm going to be reading from my notebook, so if I'm looking down, that is why. Also, I need to make that cup of coffee, so I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, so let's get into the documents that you'll need to teach English, to apply to teach English in South Korea. The first set of documents are a copy of your degree, notarized and apostilled, as well as a TOEFL certificate training of at least 120 hours. The second document you will need is a police clearance, notarized and apostilled as well. The third document you will need is a copy of your transcripts, sealed, signed, and with a stamp over the seal from your university or your training institution. The fourth document you will need is a passport copy. Make sure you have a photocopy of your passport on the information side where it has your details, your date of birth, the passport number, the date of issue, and when your passport expires. And you also need a printed out copy of your resume and a signed contract from your school. Number 7, you need 5 passport photos, 5 ID photos of yourself. They have to be the most recent photos and true representation of how you look like. And number 8, you need a health check, especially now during the coronavirus. I think this is one of the most important documents that you might need to prepare in your journey to come to South Korea. Now, let's get into how to get these documents and what you need to do in order to prepare for these documents. So we'll start with the copy of your degree. So, this coffee is good. I'm sorry, but I'm going to be reading from my notebook because it's a long process and I don't want to leave anything out and I don't want to give you guys misinformation. So the first thing you need is a BA in anything. So basically you just need to have a Bachelor's of Arts in any faculty, in anything, just to say that you have tertiary training. You need 120 hours of TEFL training. So with TEFL training, there are courses available online. I know that there are some centers in South Africa that offer TEFL training. I used to work for an English teaching, an online English job. I used to work for an English...
What did you just say?
I used to work for an online English teaching institution. Wow, this vocabulary is dense, okay? I used to work, so that's where I got my TEFL training. So I really don't know exactly how to go about getting training from experience, but I know that there are some training institutions that are available online for TEFL. I think that's the easiest, especially during the coronavirus. It's the most convenient. But I think there are also centers in Pretoria, Cape Town. I've heard of them, but I can't give you any information as I have not went through them myself. The second document is the police clearance. This is the most tricky document, I would say, but it's fine. You got this, okay? So with your police clearance, you need to go to Pretoria to get. I'll actually list the. I will write down the actual name of the place where you need to go. But with your police clearance, you just need to go to Pretoria to get a police clearance. And when I applied for my police clearance in Pretoria, at the time, I just got a normal one. I say normal because when I was looking up information for this video, it said that you need to specify for a sex offender check, and you have to insist for Pretoria to make sure to mention in your police clearance that they checked for a sex offender check. I think, of course, because you're coming here to teach children, so it's just a safety precaution. I don't know if all schools require this, but this is the latest information I got online regarding the police clearance. So after you have applied for police clearance, I think it might take about 2 weeks. I'm not sure. You can have Pretoria send it to your nearest police station. I think I fetched mine because I was either impatient. I don't quite remember. I'm not quite sure. But you can have Pretoria send it to, or well, I guess if you're not in Pretoria, you can have, for me, it was Pretoria because I'm from Johannesburg. So I'm just going to give you guys information regarding my experience as well. So I don't know if you are like in another part of the country, how to go about it. But like for us, it was Pretoria, but they should be able to inform you about the status of your police clearance via SMS. And after you receive your police clearance, you need to get it notarized. I think you get it notarized where you receive the police clearance. I did not get my police clearance notarized, so I'm not quite sure how that process goes about the notarization of your police clearance, but I know that you need to get it notarized, and after you get it notarized, you need to take it with you to DIRCO. That's where you'll get it apostilled. So I'll get into DIRCO a little bit later, but basically DIRCO is the Department of International Relations and Cooperations, and it is situated again in Pretoria. Like that's what I know. I don't know about other people in the country. I'm so sorry. All right, so now you have the copy of your degree notarized, and then you have your police clearance. We move on to the third thing, is basically your degree, how you get the copy of your degree notarized and apostilled. It's very tricky, but you can do it. Luckily, with it, once you get your police clearance, I think just wait until then. Once you have your police clearance, get the copy of your degree notarized on the same day, because otherwise you're just going to be making lots of trips back and forth to one place. So that's what I did. So the third step and the third item on my list is the copy of your degree. So basically you'll take your original degree, make a copy, and go to the Department of Higher Education and Training to get a letter, which is the notarization, that verifies your degree. This is to say that you didn't open Microsoft Word, type out your degree, printed it, and deemed yourself qualified. This notarization says that the country stands behind your qualification and that you got it from a real institution at home. So it's recognized by the country and backed up by the country. So you'll get the notarization from the Department of Higher Education. Make sure, because there's a department of I was lost. I went because they're all almost on the same street. I went to the one that people go for when they lost the matric certificates, and I stood in line. It was very sad because I worked night shifts at the time, and I stood in line and got to the lady, and she's like, no, you're lost. You need to go to this other one on the same street, because when I looked on Google, I thought I was at the right place. So make sure that you're not going to the one where it's for lost matric certificates. So just make sure you're going to the Department of Higher Education and Training, specifically for the notarization process. So after you get the note with your police clearance and the notarization on your police clearance, you have the copy of your degree with the note from the Department of Higher Education. There, it's all in Pretoria. The Department of Higher Education and the police clearance station is all in the CBD, but DIRCO is not in the CBD, as I remember. So I remember it was $60 with an Uber, because like I said, I was working night shifts. I was very tired. I was lost at some point, so I spent a lot of time in the wrong place. So I took an Uber, which you don't have to, but I took an Uber, and from the Department of Higher Education to DIRCO, it was $60. So that's how close it was. I don't think it was a lot of money, considering I needed to sleep. So you can always go and take a taxi, which is, the taxi rank is also quite confusing, but ask around and you should be able to find the taxi rank. It's also not in the center of the CBD. It's like down somewhere in an alley looking like place, but it was during the day, so it was fine. So from the Department of Higher Education and Training, you make your way to DIRCO. It's 12 Rand. It was 12 Rand using the normal taxi transportation. What the fuck am I saying? Using normal taxis, and $60 with an Uber. So I think that it's within that price range. So it's very, very close, 15 minutes to 20 minutes with traffic, of course. And you go to DIRCO, and that's where you will hand in your police clearance, the copy of your degree with a notarization, of course, with the police clearance with a notarization as well. I think though, because when I was coming to South Korea, I was told that I needed to make my health check in South Korea, but now because of the coronavirus, I think the process might have changed a little bit. I think that you might need to take 3 documents to DIRCO. I'm not sure if they need the health check apostilled. I'm not sure, but I think just have it in case just have it done by the time you go to DIRCO. Make sure all your documents are like done, and the only thing you need to do is just have them apostilled, and then you can move on to the next step. So you have your copy of your degree with the notarization, the police clearance with the notarization, and your health check if it needs to be apostilled. I'm not sure. I think you can also find out about that. What is DIRCO? DIRCO is the Department of International Relations and Corporations. What they do is they notarize the apostille documents to make sure that, basically to say that they are legitimate and that like they are recognizable to be trusted internationally, and they're not like scammed documents or like fraudulent documents, I think. And from DIRCO, I don't remember how much I paid, but I think it was less than 100 Rand, but just have 200 Rand in case it's more. I'm not quite sure, but I do think there is a fee that you need to pay to have these documents apostilled. So I first did not understand what apostilling meant. I went to the police station and I got a police stamp on my notarized degree, which was wrong. So after that, I got a police stamp, and then I went to DHL and I paid 700 Rand and sent documents that were not correct to my school, and that kind of prolonged my process, and it was frustrating not to have good information and just not to have anyone to turn to say how do I do this, like, so it was very frustrating. So please understand that notarization and having a police stamp and apostilling something are not synonymous, and they're not the same thing. I learned that the very, 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 very unfortunately the very hard way. So after you have your documents apostilled and you have everything ready, you need to now call the Korean embassy, again located in Pretoria. You need to call the Korean embassy located, well, the nearest one, I guess, if you are in other parts of the country. So you need to call the Korean embassy to get a reservation number. You can't just like show up. So you either go there to make the reservation physically, or you can call them if it's possible. Once you have the reservation number, there is going to be a document that you need to fill in, and so by this point, remember, you have all your documents. In regards to your transcripts, remember we said 2 sets of transcripts. With the transcripts, make sure they are sealed and stamped and signed over the seal to ensure that you do not open them. Don't open your transcripts. One should be sent to your school directly, and one you should keep for when you go to the Korean embassy to hand in all the documents that you have. So okay, for my school, I think, or university, I also had to pay a fee to get my transcripts, and I think it was also around 700 Rand. I don't know if everything is just in my memory coming up as 700 Rand, but I think it might have been around that much. I'm not sure because it's 2 sets, so I'm not sure if it's more, but I do know that there is a fee that you need to pay the University of Pretoria. Maybe with other universities it's different, but with my school I did have to pay a fee to get the transcripts. The fourth, I'd say it's the 4th document that you'll need, obviously, is the copy of your passport. The copy of your passport on the information side. Make sure that your passport at least has 6 months on it before it expires. I would say try to make it longer than 6 months, because you are going to another country, right? And your contract is going to be for over a year, or at least a year. You don't want the hassle of your passport expiring while your contract hasn't, especially during the coronavirus, when it's not easy to just go back and forth between countries. I would say if you have 6 months left in your contract, just get a new one. I think it's possible. Just get a new passport so you have a good amount of years, and you just like, it's restful, right? You don't have to worry about it. And also make sure that your passport is in good condition, and that there's at least one empty page on your passport that has no stamps. And yeah, I think that that could be it. I think also just make sure that the information on your passport matches the information on your degree, like in terms of surname changes, like things like that. Just be extra careful, I guess I would say. And I think that's all regarding the passport. Let's see. That's all regarding the passport. And then have a printed out copy of your resume, and that will be the 5th document. Have your resume printed out with the documents you will need to take to the Korean embassy. And number 6, you'll need a signed copy of the school's contract. So the signed copy of your school's contract needs to include information such as your address in Korea, where are you going to be living, and as well as the address of your school and who is hiring you. Your contract has to specify that you are coming as an E2 immigrant. So just make sure that your contract includes these things so that your visa application runs smoothly. So the school needs to sign the contract, and you also need to sign the contract by the time you go to the Korean embassy. Number 7, you need 5 ID photos, like I mentioned. Make sure that they are recent and true to what you look like. Yeah, I think with that, it's one of the easiest documents you need to prepare in this list. On this list, number 8, this is the one that I am completely inexperienced with doing back at home in South Africa. I think from what my friends went through, a health check that you need to apply for a job in Asia or abroad is not from like a GP. That's as much as I know. You don't just go to a normal doctor. You need to go to a doctor that is qualified. I think this is me speaking out of my this is me just speaking out of my freaking, it's not a GP that will get you the health check document. You need to go to a specific doctor that is viable to give out health checks. That's as much as I know. And once you do go there, make sure that they check for everything. One thing about South Korea that is different from South Africa is that they're not as open-minded as Western countries. And what I'm trying to get to is that smoking weed here is illegal. So try not to smoke weed months before you come to South Korea, so that it's not in your system and it does not appear on your health checks, because like I said, they are a very conservative country, which is very good. However, when it comes to foreigners, we tend to be a target for things like marijuana usage and drugs. So just be careful. It's completely legal in our country, but you are going to a different world and you do need to adapt. So try not to smoke on your way to the airport, like apparently our government suggests that they don't check for THC because it is legal in our country. However, they do, and any other narcotics. So just, be clean, be good, okay? I think because of the coronavirus, it might be mandatory to do a health check in South Africa. That was not the case when I came here. I did not do my health check back at home. I did my health check 3 weeks into my arrival in Korea. And I went to a doctor suggested by my school director, my school principal, and it was for everything, obviously, but they check for TB, They check for HIV. They also check for, of course, like I've mentioned, narcotics and THC. I don't know if you have to check for the coronavirus before you come here. You probably do. I don't. I came here 2 years ago. What a blissful time it was, hey? It was much easier to come to South Korea than now, because wow.
Guess what, bitch? Coronavirus! Coronavirus! Shit is real! Shit is getting real! Shit is real! Coronavirus!
I think these documents are for whether you're applying through Epic or you're applying to a Hagwon. But once you have all your documents set and you've made an appointment at the Korean embassy and you have a reservation number, you take all your documents, the health check, the signed contract, the passport photos, the passport photocopy, the police clearance with a notarization and apostilled, the copy of your degree with a notarization and apostilled, as well as your sealed transcripts. You take all those documents over to the Korean embassy. From there, you are going to receive a document that you need to just fill in, and it will have questions like, what is your purpose of your trip to South Korea, what kind of visa you're going to be on. You are going to be on an E2 visa. That's what you need to check. And yeah, I think that's it. You hand in your documents, and I think they took about a week. It's a long process. I remember I had my first interview on the 25th of December 2018, I think, and I finally left South Africa February on the 28th, and I haven't been home since, and I miss it so much. And it was the best decision I think I've made so far. And yeah, so basically it took about 2 months for the entire process to be done, and I think it's because I did send in the wrong documents. So be very careful. Make sure all your documents are like in top-notch like shape. I don't think it will take 2 months if you are, of course, going through the Hagwon route. But if you go through Epic, the process is much longer, and the documents are different. With Epic, I think you also need to have your primary school reports as well as high school, I think a matric certificate as well. This is strictly for Hagwons, which is private academies. And yeah, that's all. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye for today. It's so cold.
Down, yeah. I've been feeling so down, yeah.
This is the person for a hot second. I was like, oh, who's behind me? Who am I sitting on?